Hello everyone, welcome to Safety Net. Today's topic is working at height safety at construction sites. Working at height is one of the most dangerous activities in the construction industry. Falls from height can cause serious injuries, permanent disability, or even death. That is why proper safety measures are extremely important for every worker and safety officer.
Imagine for a second that you're standing, dozens of feet up in the air. The wind's whipping past you, the ground looks, uncomfortably far away, and you're just trying to get your job done. We totally take our footing for granted down here on solid ground, right? But the reality is incredibly stark. One small mistake at height can change a life forever. It's a heavy thought, I know, but it's the absolute reality for millions of workers every single day. The stakes literally do not get any higher. So today, we're going to unpack this explainer on construction site fall prevention. We'll look at exactly how to prevent deadly falls and how we can turn an environment of extreme risk into one of calculated safety. Welcome to the explainer. I am so thrilled to guide you through this critical topic today. Look, working at height is widely recognized as one of the most dangerous activities in the entire construction industry because falls from height can, and sadly, frequently do, cause serious injuries, permanent disability, or even death. So establishing strict fall prevention rules, it is definitely not just bureaucratic red tape. It's the literal lifeline that ensures workers go home to their families at the end of their shift. And that's exactly why proper safety measures are absolutely paramount for every single worker and safety officer on site. To navigate all these dangers safely, our agenda today is broken down into 5 parts. First, we'll look at the danger of the drop. Second, preparing for the climb. Third, essential equipment and protocols. Fourth, the safety officer's role. And finally, emergency rescue and preparedness. Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, the danger of the drop. Before we can actually protect ourselves, we have to precisely define the environment we're operating in. It is so easy to think that working at height only applies to, people building massive skyscrapers or hanging off the side of suspension bridges. But the actual definition provided by our sources is much broader and, frankly, a lot more sobering. Working at height simply means any work performed above ground level where a person could fall and get injured. That's it. It doesn't matter if it's 50 stories up or literally just a few feet off the ground. If a fall from that elevation can cause an injury, you're officially working at height. We really need to clarify this scope early on because underestimating a seemingly small elevation is exactly what leads to those serious injuries we just talked about. So let's look at what this actually means on a day-to-day basis. Here are some really common examples of working at height drawn straight from the industry guidelines. We've got scaffolding, which is virtually everywhere on any site. There's roof work, and of course, everyday ladder work. Then you get into the heavier industrial stuff: steel structure erection, tower crane activities, and formwork and shuttering work. I want you to really look at this list and realize just how routine these tasks sound. These aren't super rare, obscure jobs. They're the fundamental building blocks of construction, which means if you're in this industry, your everyday tasks consistently put you right in the danger zone. And within all those routine tasks lies a whole multitude of hazards. Some are super obvious, and some are kind of hidden. The most direct risk, obviously, is simply falling from those scaffolds or ladders. But look at the environmental factors here: unsafe platforms, slippery surfaces, or unprotected edges. Think about it. A sudden rainstorm can instantly turn a perfectly safe platform into a slippery nightmare. It really highlights how bad weather conditions play a massive role. And hey, it's not just about you falling. It's also about things falling on you, like drop tools and materials. Believe it or not, even the safety gear itself can be a hazard if it's not managed correctly. Improper use of safety harnesses gives this dangerous false sense of security. It just shows how quickly a totally routine job can turn deadly if you aren't paying close attention. Which brings us to Section 2, preparing for the climb. What's really interesting about this is that true safety at height actually starts firmly with your feet planted right on the ground. Before a single worker makes an ascent, there's a strict pre-work safety workflow that absolutely has to happen. Step 1, conduct a proper risk assessment. The safety officer has to identify the hazards specific to that day and that specific location. Step 2 is holding daily toolbox talks. Now, this is absolutely crucial. It's where you communicate the procedures, making sure every single worker understands the hazards before they even start. And Step 3, maintain good housekeeping. Keep the work area clean. Remove any unnecessary materials. I know it sounds super basic, but clearing slip and trip debris is literally the foundation of fall prevention. You can't exactly safely climb a ladder if you trip over a piece of scrap metal just trying to walk up to it, right? Moving right along to Section 3, essential equipment and protocols. Okay, so we've assessed the risk and cleared the site. Now we enter the active execution phase of the workday. First up is your inner layer of defense, mandatory personal protective equipment, or PPE for short. This is the gear that every worker must wear, no exceptions. You need a safety helmet to protect against those falling tools we just talked about, a full-body harness, which, by the way, we'll dive deeper into in just a second, safety shoes to maintain a solid grip on those potentially slippery surfaces, a reflective vest so you're highly visible to crane operators and machinery drivers, and hand gloves to maintain a super secure grip as you climb and work. Listen, this isn't some suggested packing list. This is the mandatory armor you need to survive in a seriously hazardous environment. Once you're all geared up, it's time to interact with your environment. Let's talk about scaffolding. The guidelines frame these not as optional tips, but as strict, sequential, required procedures. Step 1. The structure must be definitively strong and stable. Step 2. It's got to be erected properly, and that specifically means including guardrails to stop you from falling and toe boards. Now, why toe boards? Well, because they stop your tools from sliding off the edge and clocking someone down below. Finally, step 3. Complete a really thorough inspection before use. A scaffold that was perfectly safe on a sunny Friday afternoon might not be safe on Monday morning after a crazy weekend storm. Now, of all the rules we follow out there, there is one critical number you absolutely must burn into your memory when it comes to ladders. 3. Just the number 3. Let me explain exactly what that means. So obviously, you always want to place ladders on stable ground, but here is the golden rule. Maintain 3-point contact at all times. That means 2 hands and 1 foot, or 2 feet and 1 hand, must be firmly gripping that ladder while you move. That is exactly how you stay attached if you happen to slip. Furthermore, never, ever overload ladders with excess weight or materials. And under no circumstances should you use damaged ladders. Seriously, if a rung is cracked, tag it out and throw it out. It is just not worth your life. No way. But look, even with perfect ladder protocol and fully inspected scaffolds, human error still happens. We're only human, and that is exactly where fall protection systems come into play. Think of this as your ultimate fail-safe layer, designed to catch what individual caution might actually miss. We're talking about lifelines and safety nets installed right across the site. We're talking about securing yourself to tested, verified anchor points, and crucially, utilizing that full-body harness with a double lanyard. That double lanyard is a real game changer because it ensures that when you're moving past an obstacle, you can securely attach your second lanyard before you ever unclip your first one, meaning you are never, ever completely disconnected from a safety point. Let's transition to Section 4, the safety officer's role. This brilliantly illustrates how a safety officer's job is essentially split into this vital dual nature, proactive and reactive duties. On the proactive side, they're constantly planning. They conduct regular inspections, make sure everyone is actually wearing their PPEs correctly because we know how that goes. They provide the safety training, monitor the work platforms, and ensure all those permit-to-work procedures are strictly followed. But then, look at the reactive side. It's just one single line, but it carries ultimate authority. Stop unsafe work immediately. They have to balance all that careful, methodical planning with the absolute power to halt dangerous operations in a split second. They really are the ultimate safeguard on the site. And finally, Section 5, Emergency Rescue and Preparedness. So what happens when the preventative measures fail? Because despite all the PPE and all the proactive oversight, sometimes gravity just wins. When a worker falls and is suspended in midair, chaos can literally take over in an instant. That's why you must have these 4 emergency assets ready to go. For planning, you need documented emergency rescue plans, meaning you know exactly how to get a suspended worker down safely. For medical, you don't just need basic first aid kits. You need trained first aiders actually on site. For communication, emergency contact numbers must be instantly accessible to everyone. And for hardware, you absolutely must have specific rescue equipment designed for height emergencies. You cannot just figure this out on the fly. The whole shebang must be completely organized beforehand. As we draw this explainer to a close, I think the core message here is pretty clear. Working at height is inherently dangerous. Yes, absolutely. But accidents are not inevitable. They can be systematically prevented through exactly what we've been discussing: rigorous planning, thorough training, strict supervision, and the proper use of safety equipment. The overarching philosophy here is so simple but really profound. A safe worker is a successful worker. I mean, productivity means absolutely nothing if it compromises human life. With proper adherence to these protocols, working at height doesn't have to be deadly. And I want to leave you with this final thought. While the safety officer obviously manages the site, safety is everyone's responsibility, from checking your own harness to having the courage to call out a damaged ladder. So I really want you to ask yourself the very next time you step onto a site, are you doing your part to ensure a safe descent? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay vigilant, stay structured, and above all, stay safe out there.